attended, they have something to say. All right, so I invite them.
Good morning and aloha. Just to add to the drama this morning, leaving my house a little bit late, coming up Baldwin Avenue, and Baldwin Avenue was blocked. It's like, uh-oh. Fortunately, there was a diversion around through Haiku, so I got here not quite on time, but almost. In any case, always a little drama. It's just a Maui thing, you know. But so we had an esteemed group that went over to Oahu yesterday. Pastor Kimberly, Gary, Charlene, Mary, Doris, Jonelle, Diane, Estra, and me. So that was pretty amazing, you know, group of folks, leaders from our church that were over there. And the event that we were at was called Practical and Effective Outreach, a church leaders event. So lots of interesting things there. You know, one of the main themes was reinventing church. And I can in no way talk to that as well as the young woman. And when I say young, I mean under 50. the young woman that was leading the whole event. In fact, she led the thing the whole day, which was quite amazing because she was literally on her feet for probably 5 hours with no script. I mean, she had some charts and graphics and things, but she had no script, and she was able to just ad-lib and talk, and obviously she was very well prepared. So she laid out this whole agenda and carried through that agenda. And really the goals, you know, this notion, well, talk a little bit more about, you know, just kind of the laydown. It was an all-day event. Those of us that went over here some of us weren't as smart as the pastor, you know, who got in the night before so she could get there all refreshed and beautiful the next morning. You know, the others of us, we had to get up at 4:30 in the morning, get to the airport in the rain, fly over to Oahu, ride the bus to the church. Fortunately, they had some very good food for breakfast, so that was, you know, and coffee, which was desperately needed when we got there. So that was good. So we flew over there, we got on the bus, we got to the meeting, we had a breakfast, then we got into the core of the meeting, and they basically was a series of what they call keynote presentations, and it's about effective outreach of the church to reach the community. And the goals of that outreach are to build the kingdom of God. So that's kind of what we're all about here, right? Is to build the kingdom of God. Make disciples of all nations. That was another one of the goals, is basically reaching out to the world here on Maui as well as, you know, further into the world. And at the heart of all of this, of course, is that, you know, in order to do this, we need to love God, you know, with all of our heart, all of our soul, all of our strength, and all of our mind, or we will not be successful. So that's where we start. And then, of course, you know, another great commandment is love God, love your neighbor as yourself. So that's another, you know, critical piece of what we have to do. And another theme is that, you know, it's not all about, oh, you know, you better come to church or you're going to go to hell. I mean, that was, you know, come to church, you're going to go to hell. That's, you know, maybe that was a way that people, you know, tried to get people to come to church in the past. You know, that's a very, you know, simplified way of saying it. But that's not what we're about anymore. What we're really about now is inviting people on the journey to make a difference in people's lives through the kingdom of God. So that's really the whole theme of the whole event that we went to. And also some other things that, you know, what they call, you know, emerging church and lost skills, you know, the evolution of the church. And again, this is something that this young woman, and her name was Tracy Barnow, Reverend Tracy Barnow, really a fantastic speaker. She was quite amazing. We were all very impressed. So this theme of emerging church and lost skills, she's working across the churches in Oahu and probably beyond, nationwide. So this emerging church and lost skills theme is there's about 5 things that they talk about. One is interpersonal outreach, which is, you know, one-on-one communications. Newcomer retention. So when people do come to church, people remember their names and people want to come back. And of course, anybody who comes to Pocatello wants to come back. It's just, the warm embrace of this church is amazing. So we got that one wired, I think. Youth discipleship. That's another thing, is bringing in and retaining and educating and teaching youth and getting them involved in creating the kingdom of God, not just talking about it or not just show and tell, but actually getting them involved. So youth discipleship is important. Effective stewardship, of course, reaching out. And then the last thing was navigating change, because as you all know, the world is changing around us, and we have to be able to adapt to that change. And certainly, churches around the world are changing, and churches need to adapt to those realities. So those were themes. And let's see. So then, the agenda, and I'm almost done, and then we're going to kind of go through the team and give everybody a chance to give you their perspectives on what we learned. Let's see. I think it's the same thing. It's pretty much, there was an interpersonal outreach section, there was an outreach to youth, and there was a community outreach portion. And then there was a part she really was making us work. She was making us leave with a plan. So we actually had to gather into groups and write plans down and communicate them back and forth and write them up, write them on the wall and so forth. So we had to come back here with plans. So we have some plans that we're going to be working on that is all about this practical and effective outreach and basically reinventing the church. So I think that's my spiel. And Jonelle, would you like to go first? Oops.
Aloha, everyone. So it was a wonderful time yesterday with Ohana from the church and being with more Christians. And as Pastor Tracy Barnow prefers saying, people of the way. Not just Christians, but people of the way to God, to a way opening your hearts and showing more aloha to people. So people of the way. That's what she had to say about it. We all learned so much, and it was a great day being surrounded by one another, so much aloha, and our Father in heaven. 2 ideas that I would like to share and to implement are with the keiki of our church and in getting more involved with bringing their energy, their love, and their ideas to our church and our ohana. We have a lot of keiki, young adults, little ones, all around us. And one of the things that I would love for our keiki to join in, which they already are, is in our music, in singing, just like Genesis does, and the tambourine, like Faith does, or playing instruments. This is not only just for the children, but also for any adults. And also songs, if the keiki, the young adults, the adults, have any particular songs that you'd like to present to bring to church for us to sing. All of our ohana is welcome to do all of this. Also, I'm reaching out to keiki to help us with our upcoming rummage sale, which is on March 16th. If you all can go to your cupboards, your closets, under your bed, on the walls, whatever, see if there's any kind of cool toys that you can let go of. Slightly used toys that would help other children to have fun things in their lives from someone else, another keiki, another young adult, that loved them and touched them and that were in their world. And I just want to thank you in advance, mahalo so much for bringing them to the church. Once again, the rummage sale is on March 16th. Another thing that we're going to do at the rummage sale, which would be wonderful if the keiki would get involved with helping with that, got a couple twins back there, young adults that I'm going to talk to later, is we're going to have a lemonade stand and have the keiki get involved with one helping collect lemon. So if anybody in the ohana family here has lemon trees, or knows people that do, we'd love for you to donate. And if you need help collecting, picking up, getting them, whatever, just let me know. I'm going to actually have a sign-up sheet next week in the fellowship hall for that case, and also we're going to have Friday night before the rummage sale, we're going to have a lemonade making party. So I'm going to have a sign up for sheet for that for anybody that wants to come and help do that. And let me see here. So, along with all your help, I would love if when you, Keiki, and all Ohana are home, please jot down any ideas you have that you would like to do at church, or suggestions, thoughts that are very important to you and would be important to us to know about. And also want to thank you, family, for helping your Keiki to gather their thoughts and reach into their hearts and want to become a part of the church more. And in doing that, they can also tell their friends and say, hey, we're doing some pretty fun stuff, getting involved with church, and would love for you to be a part of it. So what do you think? You want to come? So that's one way in my heart to get the Keiki more involved with our church, just to do some more things. And so I'm sure there's other things, like I said, in your mind that maybe you can think of that would be fun, that we as adults aren't young enough to maybe think about these things. So that'd be really lovely. So we all love you and are so excited about the possibilities of getting more involved in our church and with one another. And more excitement. Inviting your friends, like I said, would be great times for them to come to the services that you do. So, mahalo, Lord, and for all of you, for our loving Ohana. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. Bob, you did a great job on the summary. Thank you. As Bob said, we had an amazing speaker, and she covered so many things that we've kind of just taken for granted. And one of the things that really stood out with me was interpersonal outreach, which is really like basic skills that we have that we don't really exercise as Christians. And it's not about, like he said, going out there being Bible thumpers or telling somebody, you need to come to church, and this is my church, and blah, 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 blah. But it's really about listening, asking questions, knowing their needs, and inviting them and being really excited about your church. And I have to say, I'm not like that. I do not do that. I have the hardest time. But on the plane, I was sitting next to this guy, and he was really, really quiet. And I had my folder with my name and Po'okela Church on it. And I know he was looking. He was, like, reading. So just before we landed, I turned to him. I said, oh, you from Maui? And he said, oh, no, I'm from Canada visiting, he was delayed and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, took a deep breath. I just came from a conference, and I have to tell you, it was just wonderful. And I go to Po'okela Church, and we're on the slopes of Haleakala, and it's just so awesome. If you have a chance during your stay, tell them about the service. I said, we have the nicest people. You won't be sorry, so come. And I was so proud of myself, like, oh, I said something, and my gosh, it wasn't hard. It really wasn't hard. If you have it in your heart that you are happy here, you love your pastor, you love each other, and you know what our church has to offer, do it. You'll be happy. And just, like I said, be sensitive to one another. The timing, you have to time it right. You have to know what to say, but God will give you that. But mahalo, and I'm really happy I had this opportunity.
Okay, Pastor told us beforehand that our talk was supposed to be only 2 minutes. But since they used most of my minutes, I'll just make mine really short. But anyway, going back to Charlene, it's just a coincidence, or maybe it's God's doing. But she sat next to the husband, and then I sat next to the wife in another row. And then I said the same thing. I said, we have a really welcoming church, and you love the food and everything else. And then so I said, the service starts at 9 o'clock, and the wife said, 9 o'clock? We're just having coffee, and we're just getting up. But I said, well, when you do, I said, please join us. But anyway, the second the three most important thing was, and the second one was about the youth, bringing the youth. And I know that our church has some youth, but most of them don't want to come, or they have sports or anything else. So like pastor's always message has the 3 letters, or, and mine will be the 5 W's and the 1 H. So the first one is who, and we're talking about the youth. And the second is what? Is promoting the youth to be more involved in the church. And the third is where, our church services, where can they serve, church services, activities, communities. And the fourth is when. And we feel that it's as soon as possible. And the fifth is why, because the development of the youth to be the next generation of the church leaders. And the last one is H. There's only one H. The project that they are involved in will help them make decisions, including how to accomplish their projects, and it could also help them in the future to make decisions on their own. And so we also ask the parents, because we need the parents' help to transport the youth. So also we ask that the parents would also step up also. Thank you.
Good morning. I was blessed to be at this conference as well, and everything that they've said so far is correct. I'll tell you, they didn't make anything up. Certain things did stick out in my mind. Tracy Barno was a wonderful speaker. She spoke from her heart, and she spoke from experience, and she didn't just read a book and say, this is what you do. She's lived it, and she's done it. And in various places on the mainland, and now she's in Hawaii at the Hawaii Conference, and so she's part of one of our conference ministers. And I think the thing that struck me was the interpersonal outreach. And she talked about all the ways you can do things in the newspaper and on ads and on internet and making flyers and making posters and things like that to attract people to the kingdom. But the most important thing is the personal relationship, personal touch. Like we just heard from these 2 ladies that got brave and did it. Yay, thank you. And I thought it was interesting how in Acts chapter 2, verses 44 to 47, where they were building up the church, they weren't called Christians. There was no such word as Christians, and they were called people of the way. That was their identification. And then the authorities tried to figure out what to do with them, because they were getting so growing in numbers and so many people coming and attracting people. So they said, what do we do with those people that talk about Christ all the time? What do we do with them? Who are they? And he said, well, let's call them Christians. Okay, so that's how we got the word Christians. And we're really people of the way. We're on our way. We're on a journey. Everybody's on a journey right now. And our main goal is not just to bring numbers, but it's to build the kingdom. To build the kingdom and to create a society with aloha and a society with justice. And you don't have to be like they've all said it, so I don't know what I'm saying here. Anyway, I'll finish up. I like the part about the youth. We talked about how we entertain youth all the time. Take them on trips, they go here, they go there, they have popcorn, they have movies and things like that. We need to, instead of entertaining youth, disciple youth, make them become disciples, give them projects to do or get them integrated into the community, into various work projects, things that they really can do to serve people. And that's one way they can show their attention. They may not like to also always sit in church, but they do like to be in part of activities. So we need to be more aware of that and get more involved. Jonelle's lemonade stand was great, so we're going to work on that too. So I just want to thank everybody that came, that went, and we had a great time, even though it was 4 in the morning until 8 at night.
I'm not a public speaker, but it's a hard act to follow, man. I mean, you know. But anyway, on a note that Diane closed out was I like to follow up. And since I'm involved in the stewardship of the buildings and grounds, one of the topics was how might the youth help in a meaningful way to the church? Well, I sat there and thought about it, and I thought about the responsibility that we all have here in taking care of the body of this church. And being at buildings and grounds, as most of you realize, that a lot of it is in disrepair, if you will, and there's obviously a lot of visible signs of that taking place. I'll try to stay within the 2 minutes, but I doubt that very much. But anyway, a lot of you, I'll tell you what happened last night after I picked up the wife from the airport. We were sitting there having dinner, and I says, "Hey, what you got for sermon for tomorrow?" And she says, "You guys are going to be on the sermon for tomorrow." I says, "Oh, okay. Is that the reason why we had this impromptu meeting in the waiting room at the airport, and with all this tasking, to kind of come up and tell you folks in a summary type fashion of what we learned at the workshop?" But anyway, that just gives you a little insight. This is all impromptu, so one of the things I thought, maybe we get the kids, or actually more mature youth, involved in the body of the church in helping, take up the task and of helping to restore the church to a more, how should I say, take care of all the neglected maintenance that's been happening here, and actually. I thought, well, maybe they can, as one example, maybe they can get involved in washing the windows of the social hall, exterior as well as interior, as well as also here on the sanctuary, and have a work day set up for them to do those things. And the other thing was maybe get them involved in helping to do touch-up painting and take little, just do small things, small tasks, touch-up painting, repairing the signs, for example, out here in the front. Maybe you didn't notice, but one of our signs got blown down during that last ferocious windstorm we had, about 2 weeks ago? Yeah. And we also, on the south side of the new addition on the end of the fellowship hall, we lost about 15-foot lineal feet section of the roofing. It got blown off, and it ended up in the front of the parsonage. That's how I realized that we had lost the roof, because I was sitting there in the kitchen looking out toward the front entry of the church, and I saw this piece of roofing felt blow right by the front window here, and I said, "Uh-oh." So anyway, next day I went out and inspected, and sure enough, there was a piece missing. So, okay, anyway. And then also I thought maybe they could help perhaps with helping restriping the parking lot, but it's things of that nature. That's what I was thinking about, running through my mind. But anyway, I thought I'd pass that on to you folks, just so that when and if it should happen, when we get a little more mature youth group reestablished here in the church, and we might be able to look forward to having those things done. Okay, that's it. That's my 2 minutes.
Yes, of course. So I don't really have much else to say other than thanks. You all did awesome. It's always scary to stand up here. I do quite a bit of speaking at work, but it's harder at church because you feel like you're under more pressure to do it right and not say the wrong things and all that. So I really appreciate everybody, getting up and speaking from the heart, which is really, that's what everybody did. So, and obviously thank the pastor for, pulling us together and motivating us. She always gives me these little tasks, it's like, oh, okay, you're going to do this tomorrow. Oh, I am? Oh, okay. So anyway, thanks for the motivation. And I think that's it.
Okay.
Praise God.
Thank you.